You are now streaming to YouTube live, which means theoretically we are now live.
Yay!
All right, so just waiting for YouTube to catch up with the delay. There we go. All right, so hope you are well, Laura, and welcome everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Welcome to the Fat Overlords uh, thing,
Podcast of Pod Nation.
podcast of Pod Nation.
Yeah,
Is that what we're calling it?
yeah, it's the podcast of Pod Nation.
So are we pod people?
No, it's just people who watch us are pod people.
Pod people,
Yeah.
pod
See,
watch
this is
pod.
how you build YouTube. You got to get the in group. So the first thing you do is you create something like the pod people, and so when they join, you say, "What's going on, pod people?" That way, they feel like they're all a part of the tent, and people who are part of the tent want to be more a part of the tent, so they'll become almost cult like.
But you see, it sounds to me more like you're being degrading towards them, and that you're insulting them by suggesting that they uh, are just pod people as opposed to human beings.
It's Western audience; they love it.
Oh, okay. I'll try to keep that in mind.
That's what's
Yeah,
up.
well, I guess I stand corrected because Switzer2322 says yay cult. So, okay.
See, that's what I said.
So
Welcome to
I
it.
stand corrected. So, and
Just like you stand corrected on the terms that we use for the various shows,
no,
like
don't
toss,
even
like
get
voy,
okay.
like disco, like
Wait.
ping,
First of all, nobody
ass.
nobody says voy except for
Yeah, that's just
Boimler.
that's just something random they put in there. It's not.
Yeah, they put it in there.
So when they call them those old scientists, by
I think
ranting
that
out, it's
I
just
think that
random.
Mike McMahon put in voy just to make fun of you.
Oh, okay.
I think that I think he
That would mean that he watches my channel, so I'm
I
not
think
sure how
he's
I feel
seen your
about that.
channel. I do. Well, you know he's been on Trek Yards. So if he's been on Trek Yards, it stands to reason that he's at least heard of you and me. And so if he's at least heard of you and you might have stopped by our channels once or twice, and then he saw how stupid it was that you referred to the original series as Toss, and so that's why he wrote in Voy. I think that's where that came from.
Maybe that's why Discovery has gelato in it a lot too. So I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe I'm where they get their ideas.
I think that's where they get their bad ideas, yes.
Yeah.
So
Are you ready to challenge the Black Mountain? That's that's
what?
you don't know that? I thought you watched Lower Decks.
Yeah, well, I don't remember. Oh, is that that's from last season, isn't it?
No, it's from the last episode.
Challenge the Black Mountain.
Yeah, from Shax.
Oh yeah. After you die, I forgot. I'm sorry. Took me a minute. So all right, so let's talk. So we had Lower Decks season 3. So we had a lot going on in the episode, really, because we had the return of Shax. We had Boimler trying to get Tom Paris to autograph his limited edition Tom Paris dinner plate. And of course, we had the side mission with Tindy and Mariner.
Right.
And so, of the 3 basic storylines, uh, I liked the Boimler stuff. I thought the Rutherford story was okay, although I think that I didn't like that we didn't really get an explanation for Shax. Like they really just dodged it. We really never got an explanation how he came back, and then and I didn't really care for the Tindy, uh, the Tindy Mariners sex toy thing. I thought that was kind of stupid, but I thought that I thought it was entertaining. I enjoyed the episode, but I think that of the 3 episodes this season, I think it was the weakest of the 3. But that's not to say it was bad. I just don't. I just think it was the weakest so far.
I think it's fine. I think they address. I think with the Tindy Mariner stuff, they address a lot of the issues. One thing it does feel like I know we were joking more, but I do think that McMahon does listen or at least sees the critiques because a lot of the Tindy Mariner stuff was addressing criticisms in season 1. Like they usually go Boimler, Mariner,
Sure.
Tindy thing,
The,
and they even bring that up.
mhm.
You know, and so I think that some of it is just addressing what actually is a criticism that happened. Um, I think it's funny, whether they meant to or not. I think they really do push how Starfleet is somewhat also a cult of personality, and how social cred means a lot with the Tom Paris plate and Tom Paris being awesome and whatever, and being able to assault a person for being dirty and assuming that dirty means that you're a specific type of race. So there's some racism there, but
Which you enjoyed.
yeah, I mean, it's whatever.
Well, you said you enjoyed it.
Did I? Did I say? Was I
Yeah,
like I specifically?
yeah,
I was like,
you did. I understand you said it before we
I
started
just,
broadcasting.
I,
But, you know,
I mean, were you recording when I said that?
I was actually.
Oh, okay. Well, then if you're recording, then I guess I did say. If you weren't recording, doesn't sound like something I'd ever say.
So if you weren't
I was,
recording, it was nothing I'd ever
I
say. I
yeah,
like.
I was young at that time. I said a
Mhm.
lot of stupid stuff, and I regret it. And I'm going to reflect on who I was some months ago. I'm going to take about a couple days off. You know, get some me time. Better reflect on the horrific things I've done.
No, I gotta say that while this episode, like I said, I think that the Tindy storyline, I agree with you that I think the dialogue where they addressed that stuff was the best stuff of the Tindy Mariner story. The fact that they addressed that that part of it was a little wash rinse repeat in the first season. I'm glad that they did address that. But I do think that there's the story. Unfortunately, what they did do with them this time, with them basically just getting a sex toy for the doctor, uh, was just a little
Well,
stupid.
she never wanted the toy though,
Well, she just wanted the box to for whatever reason.
because she's a cat.
Right.
You have cats. You know how that works, or at least you've had a cat, haven't you?
No, we have a cat. We still have the
Yeah,
cat.
they love boxes. That's just what they do.
Um, but the as far as that's the rest of the stuff, the I when Paris actually when Paris actually tackled Boimler for being a Kazon, I have to admit I busted out laughing. I thought that was hilarious. Because the Kazon, I never particularly cared for the Kazon in Voyager. Um, I thought that they were they were they weren't a very well thought out villain in the first place, and to kind of just throw that out there that they were just kind of you know grubby looking people, and it's like, so you make somebody look dirty enough and you can mistake anybody for a Kazon, and that's exactly what they did.
Well, and the fact you instantly attack a Kazon. As soon as you see
Right.
one, you instantly attack a Kazon.
Right.
I get it's for the joke, but it's still funny.
Yeah. um and now, did you think they should have explained how Shax came back?
I think it was fine the way they did. I actually think that it's a good way of addressing how it looks from the other side. I think it's appropriate because I mean, imagine the lower decks for people who do die and then all of a sudden come back. That happens a lot. We don't think about it because we know, because we're with the main cast, the
Hmm.
the actual senior officers. But from a lower deck standpoint, it looks like people just randomly leave and come back for no reason at all.
Hmm.
Now, they missed an opportunity. I really think they should have done it for laughs. Again, they should have done some of the ideas we thought, like somehow make them a part of the Packlets or whatever.
Right.
But I kind of see why he did that, just to show it from the lower deck standpoint.
Or maybe and who knows, they might address it later in the season too.
Right.
um
Yeah.
because it does seem like because what we've seen now with the Titan and now with Shax coming back and stuff, it does seem like, while obviously they're not doing a serialized season, they're doing threads through this season.
Right.
And so it's possible that they may be building up to something. I'm still not convinced we have that we're not going to see the duplicate Boimler again.
Right.
And in fact, like, remember in the trailer for the series, you do see Boimler as a Borg, and I wonder if that's duplicate Boimler.
Maybe I'll be interested to see where they go with that too.
Yeah,
I don't know. I didn't even think about that, but yeah,
right.
it'll be curious to
Like,
see
could
how
you
it ends up
imagine?
then.
Yeah, what happens if the Cerritos has to go up against duplicate Boimler as a Borg?
And they make him like Locutus,
Yeah,
like he's the Locutus of the lower decks thing.
yeah.
That would be that'd be interesting. I think that'd be pretty. And what would like people wouldn't take him seriously or whatever, but since he's really is a capable officer as a Borg, he would know all of the weaknesses of the Cerritos and everything. That'd be I think that'd be kind of cool if they did that. I don't know that they will, but I think that'd be kind of cool if they did.
But Boimler could actually come up with a solution because he knows his own weaknesses.
Right.
So that,
It would probably be something stupid though. He'd probably
right.
like out talk him or something like that.
Yeah, keep
But
him
yeah,
talking.
yeah. Or start. They talk about the warp core. You get him
Mhm.
started on the warp core. Because remember the season one, the warp core
Right.
was his
Now,
favorite thing.
Thomas is saying, and I didn't catch this, but I'm curious to see if you felt this way. Thomas is saying that he felt like Shax didn't feel as angry as he did in season one.
We really haven't seen him all that much. He was a bit character in it, so I'm
Right.
not sure that
You don't
that
think we've seen enough of him yet to really make that?
yeah. Yeah, I think he was in all of what 3 scenes or something like that,
Right.
and he just had a like a traumatizing experience. So I don't know. They might. I'm curious what they're going to do with this new security character. If they're going to split time between Shax and whatever his name is. He got turned into a doll,
Oh yeah.
or if Shax is going to take it back over. Because if they split time, we're not going to really get a lot when it comes to that. I don't think they're going to characterize him as much anymore.
And Alex would like to know if we want to see Quark guest star on an episode. I don't know. As far as legacy characters, other than Riker, because we've already got him as captain of the Titan, I don't know if there's any specific character I'd like to see. If they write in a character, I'm fine with it. But as long as it makes sense to the story and it's funny, you know.
Yeah, I think that I think it's interesting and cool if they do that. If they like show the characters where they are now and have
Mm,
them either as like bit characters or maybe one-offs, maybe a few episodes if they wanted to.
right.
And it'd be interesting to see where everyone ended up. I if they were going to do that, I would most of the characters I'd want it done in like Discovery or Picard or another live action.
Right. So we're gonna
Uh,
take it a little more seriously.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Quark is one of those characters where maybe Quark would work on Lower Decks. Rom, I think, would definitely work on Lower Decks. But a lot of the characters, I'd more want to see them in a live action or at least a more serious one than Lower Decks. I
Well,
mean, I'm sure they
honestly,
do a great job, but
yeah.
I'd want it more serious.
And I don't know if they tried to get Armin Shimmerman and couldn't, or if they just didn't even think of it. But to me, it seems like a golden opportunity pissed away that they didn't try to get Quark in Picard after Seven of Nine shot up the bar to have Quark stick his head up from behind the bar.
Ah, that'd be funny.
You
I
know,
think that would completely break the pacing and the tone, but that would be funny. I
yeah,
think that he
I
just
mean,
looks confused.
yeah. That would have been awesome right there. But
Right.
and the problem is that I think Picard took itself way too seriously.
Well, didn't
Uh,
they have Quarks? They either had Quarks and
the
no.
bar was a Quark's bar,
Oh, okay.
and so they at least on the outside it said Quarks, but although I think it was like spelt differently. So um, but yeah, uh,
Well, it'd been funny, and this could totally seem like Quark, even if they didn't have the character. His visage or his like you'd have a video playing of him, or maybe a hologram that greets people when they come
yeah.
in, or whatever. I could see Quark doing that. Also, I think it would be great.
Every customer is important at
Yeah,
Quarks. Yeah,
yeah, and then what would have been fun too is just, and of course they've missed this chance, but also at the bar if they would have had, oh, what's the character's name? He talked a lot. He was in all of them.
wrong or Morn, you mean?
Morn, yeah.
Yeah.
If they'd had like a hollow Morn there too. That's never explained. People are just confused by it.
Yeah.
He just sits there.
Yeah, he could have been sitting at the bar. No reason to, and while Seven is shooting up the place, he wouldn't even move.
Yeah, it goes like through him. Like one
Yeah.
of the shots goes straight through him because it's a hologram. Oh man, that would have hurt the pace and tone, but it would have been so funny. It would have been so worth it.
Yeah, the pace and tone of that show was so broken anyway.
Yeah, you might not have lost much, but
Yeah.
still. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see them. Lower Decks, this season has honestly just been the season of standard Lower Decks episodes. I haven't seen a very strong one yet, and definitely I think season 1 has the better episodes so far. I mean, we still got what? How many did they do? 10 more or something like that?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I guess we'll have to see. But what's the next one supposed to be about anyway? Have they released that yet?
The next Lower Decks episode?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I've just been kind of taking them as they come, so I have no idea what they're going to do.
Yeah, but isn't like your job? Isn't that what you do for a living?
Right now, what I do for a living is go to doctor's appointments and,
No, not online. This is what you do, son. This is you.
And Alex's point, well, what about Rami's Grand Nagus now? Well, you see, and that's another thing, because Ram, since he's a serious political power, at least he was at the end of DS9. We don't know if he's still in power.
Right.
Because for all we know, like with his, with his political reforms and stuff, it's entirely possible he got overthrown. But that could actually, that could be a part of the Picard storyline.
I don't think they'd do that. Honestly, I don't think they'd reverse the positives that was happening. Not this team, at least.
Why not? They want to make sure that they say how evil the Ferengi are, so the Ferengi would overthrow all those wonderful things.
No, I think they turn the Ferengi into socialists. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think they're going to... I think they'd continue along that. I mean, maybe not, but we don't know. I can tell you the next Lower Decks involves a huge monkey, and Shax putting his finger in the monkey's, I'm guessing that's excrement.
Okay, what do you see? Were you looking at a trailer for it or something?
Yeah, it's episode 4, preview Star Trek Lower Decks season 2, episode 4. So that seems interesting. What do you think about the pirate outpost, by the way, when it comes to the Orions and everything?
Oh, first of all, I thought it was hilarious that Tindy was like, basically calling out the flagrant racism of Star Trek and then reinforcing the flagrant racism of Star Trek. I absolutely loved. Where it's like, because they say, oh, what about, don't you have like pirates or whatever, he goes, oh, you guys and your race, you just assume everybody. Oh, by the way, my cousin who's a pirate, I can do, totally do that. That was hilarious.
Right.
And Ervik, thank you, throws a buck in just to throw a buck in. I appreciate it.
I liked the fact that they kind of explained what was going on with her too, that she doesn't give off those pheromones. So apparently there are various different types of females that give the pheromones or whatever.
Right.
At least they kind of explained that. Again, it was going back to them really addressing a lot of the criticisms.
Right.
I don't know how to feel about that necessarily. It's kind of convenient to me, but at least they explained it.
But she also, like they did show like it's a matriarchal society, the Orions, and she did take on that role. Like she doesn't like it, but she took it on when they went there,
Right.
And so they didn't try to back down from that. So I appreciate, and that's something that Mike does well with his writing, is that he understands the lore of Trek, and so he doesn't try to change things up as far as what different races and stuff in Trek are and what they do and how they behave. He understands them and he goes with it. And so even though the matriarchal nature of the Orions is really something that is not dealt with much in Trek, I think that was it only an Enterprise that we really got that? Um, I'm trying to think if they even dealt with the Orions in TNG or DS9. I think it was just an Enterprise, wasn't it?
Um, well, I know the original series introduced them, but they didn't really go into the
Right. The
lore.
original series, they just called them Orion slave girls and said that no human male could resist them. But it was in Enterprise, I think it was in Enterprise that they learned that because of their pheromones, the women controlled society.
Right.
And
The Orion Syndicate was in Deep Space Nine, but that more dealt with the lower levels and non Orions.
right. We didn't actually deal with the Orions. We just,
Yeah.
so, and so I like the fact that Mike McMahon knows the lore from all these different shows and brings it all together, and he does it pretty well, so that he can create a character like Tindy, who is different. She's not your typical Orion female, but she still fits within the lore, and she doesn't break that lore, you know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I agree.
so yeah, so um, and Alex mentions in Menagerie they had the Orion. Yeah, but we're talking about what I was talking about. That's from the original series. I'm saying that I was asking if we in Enterprise was when we really got the deep dive on the Orion Society. In the original series, they just mentioned Orion women and what they're capable of. And in fact, in the original, like in the Cage, it's very much apparent that the Federation condones slave trade with Orion women,
Right.
which is kind of weird. And Jordan
Well,
says
now,
Ed Wiseman died. I'm not sure who Ed Wiseman is,
you
but
said Starfleet was okay with the Orions?
with trading Orion slave women.
When was Starfleet okay with trading? I mean, they put
They-
up with a lot of stuff.
Right,
I don't-
right.
But directly trading, when did that happen?
When in the Cage, when Pike was talking to the doctor, he said that he was like, well, what he was thinking about quitting the service. He's like, what would you do? And he says, oh, maybe I'll become a free trader. And I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but it's something with the Orions. And he goes, oh, what, you trading Orion slave women or something like that. And so he was actually saying that he would quit the service of Starfleet and actually get into the slave trade.
Was it a joke or sarcastic, or was he saying it seriously?
No, the way that he was saying it, it sounded like he was being serious about it.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Because
It was Syra, by the way.
he was saying it like, you doing that, that doesn't fit your personality.
right. By the way, there was another Orion in Discovery. They did it twice, actually. They had the trade, and then they had Osira for Discovery.
Right, but that was in the 32nd century or whatever. But
Yeah. Two things, Cedric Taylor, or actually Viro will go helping out the channel. Just happy Tindy actually got something to do. Yeah, they're actually doing something with her. Cedric asks, will Q be Q, or will he be more serious? I hope he makes Picard more of data to mess with. I hope he makes Picard more of data to mess with. Not sure what you mean by that. The one thing I hope for that personally is that you could actually have a meta narrative with Q guiding humanity and possibly using them to fight the Borg for some strange reason. But beyond that, just guiding them and assisting them to ensure that they become something better, to ensure that they advance. And so I hope it continues along with that, but I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Q.
And and by the way, I know people say, well, will he be Q or will he be serious? Well, first of all, I think that Q is Q, whether he's in serious mode or jokey mode, because he's been serious and he's been jokey. It just depends on what he's trying to do. And so sometimes he's just jovial. Sometimes it's just like anybody. Sometimes we're in a good mood. Sometimes we're in a more serious mood, depending on what we're trying to do. Think about,
Right.
especially if you have kids. Sometimes you're playing around with your kids. Sometimes you're deadly serious with your kids, depending on what's going on, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, he was a jokester. He was originally more a jester than a lot. There's quite a few season one episodes.
but if you look at Encounter at Farpoint, he was pretty serious in that one.
Yeah, but I'm saying when you look at some of the other episodes, though,
Right.
he was pretty joking. So it's within his character.
Right.
But honestly, again, it's my hope. I don't know. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Picard. I think Picard is honestly a risk given how old Patrick Stewart is, and so
I think Picard is a bad idea, and I thought it was a bad idea at first, and I still think it's a bad idea. And season 2 of Picard should be the last season of Picard, and just move on to a Riker series.
With Q, I think that it would be a good way to end the series. I think I would be very, if they wrote it right, I think it would be very interesting for Picard to actually become a Q. And I think they could write it in a way that it would be really interesting. But I don't know, and it'll be funny. It'll also be, some people have maybe it was you, have given the idea that when he walks up, he's like, you're not Picard. You're just like a machine or whatever. And then he makes him Picard. He's just like,
right,
like,
kind of
right,
undo the crap that they did in season 1.
Yeah, we got that fixed. Now you're human again.
Now, a couple of things. First of all, Alex wanted to know if I would want to bring the Jem'Hadar back. No, the Dominion War is over. The Dominion surrendered, and I would say they're not manufacturing Jem'Hadar anymore. So at least not in the Alpha Quadrant. So no, I don't want them back.
I was going to say, I think they're still doing.
Runner brought up that
nothing in
Q
that
was
agreement
written in
says they
unique
can't
three
still
ways:
continue to
the
be
jokester, the sadist, and the
authoritarian,
advocate of
destructive,
humanity.
evil people in the Gamma Quadrant. It's just the Alpha and Beta Quadrant.
Right, but I just say I don't think that we're gonna. I don't think there's any point in bringing the Jem'Hadar back in, unless we're gonna have a second Dominion War, which I don't think that they're gonna do that.
Right.
Alex says Trelane was more fun than Q. Well, Trelane lacked maturity, which made it so that you could have a little bit more fun with that. And Jordan says, I want to see a bunch of baby Q, and Q tells Picard to babysit them. Oh, that would be horrifically bad. And then Alex, thank you, puts
whatever fetish you have, my friend.
That's a weird one. Says Lore Runner brought up the Q is written in 3 unique ways: the jokester, the sadist, and the advocate of humanity. I wouldn't call him a sadist at any point. I don't know. Lore Runner, I don't. But the as far as the jokester, sometimes I would call him more of a mischief maker. Kind of a Loki type of character. But not sadist. He has, because like when you look at him in, say, Q-Who or Encounter at Farpoint, I wouldn't say he's a sadist. I don't think he's trying to inflict pain as much as he's trying to teach humanity something.
There were a couple of one-off or individual scenes when he would, and he didn't necessarily do it to humans, but he did it to other species. But I forget. I remember Lore Runner saying that, but I forget the examples he gives.
Right.
It's really more based off of the writers, because writers obviously wrote him differently.
Right.
And so that's why you get the differences. I know someone said, and I forget where it was, talking about in the Kelvin universe, Kirk was infatuated with an Orion who was Uhura's roommate, which I completely understand.
Yeah, that was in the Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, she was hot as hell, so I mean that's understandable. I'm not sure what that has to do with anything, but yeah, she was pretty attractive. But yeah. I think it explains all Orion. Sorry, I think it explains all Orions in Starfleet now, if they're accepting the ones that don't have that ability.
Right, like somehow it would be like is it something that some Orions are just born without those pheromones, or is it something that they can be surgically or genetically altered?
Right.
Almost like to put it in a crude way, like how you can have a skunk descented.
Right.
Is it something to that effect where you can actually, have an Orion de-pheromoned so that they can effectively work with humans? Arabic liked my idea that I've mentioned before about doing a Star Trek Titan series. I think, yeah, absolutely. You replace Picard with the Titan series. Let's bring on a good show, please. If you're going to do a next gen era show, let's enough with Picard on Picard season 3 on death's door. It's like, come on, we don't need old man Picard. And Alex keeps advocating for that one Jem'Hadar that was a nice guy. I don't want nice Jem'Hadar. I don't want it. Don't care. Jordan says, what about the movie about the Earth? What about a movie about the Earth Romulan War? You would need an entire series about the Earth Romulan War. A movie would not do it justice.
So you don't like nuanced characters? They got to be black and white to you?
No,
you can't have a nice Jem'Hadar. They all got to be evil.
No, I'm not saying that.
Is it because they're Jem'Hadar? Is it because of the grayness?
That's what it is. It's because of the grayness.
You don't like gray?
I don't like gray. Yeah.
Gray can't be good.
I've not seen Free Enterprise. No. And
if it's gray, keep it away.
And Thomas says Tindy has the pheromones. She doesn't. She said she doesn't.
Said she doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hauntus Farmer says that perhaps with Orion's like a skunk, they can choose not to use it. I could actually see the Federation being okay and believing that it's going to be the honor system will work out. I could see that.
Well, I think that what they would do is something similar to what they do with Deltans, is make them sign an oath of non-pheromone use or something.
Right. I could see them using a suppressant too. I mean, the Federation is like the science of all, at least until Discovery Season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so I could see them having like some kind of suppressant. Honestly, I think if they were going to do something with the Dominion, they should do the Star Trek on the Line route. It'd have to be a different series. It'd have to be a new series. But where the Dominion is just getting the absolute health rashed out of it in the Gamma Quadrant, and so asks the Federation to help them. It would be tricky, but I think you could write an interesting story around that, I think.
And so then now Alex says, it was really mean for me to not like that. I can never pronounce the name. Gorgon Agar, I think is the name of that Jem'Hadar, the nice Jem'Hadar. It's really mean for me to say that. He nursed me back to health after that dirt bike accident. Regurgitated food for me like a mama bird, you ungrateful prick.
What the hell kind of subscribers do you have, man?
Weird ones, I tell you. I don't remember a Jem'Hadar barfing food into my mouth after a dirt bike accident. I really don't.
That's some crazy fanfic. I mean,
I do remember having a dirt bike accident when I was a kid, but I definitely do not remember a Jem'Hadar puking food into my mouth after the dirt bike accident.
Eating it for you. What the hell?
Yeah, I definitely... Wow, that was just the weirdest thing. Oh, man. Jordan says, with all the crime, why didn't the Federation break up the syndicate? Well, they didn't want to be racist.
Yeah, that's what it is. They were worried about going up against persons of color.
Are still in denial.
The same reason they didn't go against the Dominion until the Dominion all but declared war on them.
Yeah.
Same reason they didn't stop the Cardassians. Same reason they ally with the Klingons. They, a lot of people get mad at me, but the writing for Starfleet is, as long as you don't mess with us, we'll let you have whatever cultural beliefs you want to have. It's just what they do.
No, and even if you do mess with us, as long as, you're not actually attacking us, as long as you say that you're not attacking us, even when you do.
Yeah, then you're okay. Yeah, the Federation puts up with a lot. Would you want to see Odo return if he was recast? No. I'm not a huge fan of recasting necessarily, unless it's a reimagined and not in the continuity. I'd be okay in that instance. But as one that was like in continuity, that's supposed to be a part of the main prime line or whatever the hell we call it. I'd want him either to be off camera or not brought up, and I don't want them to do that digital stuff, that Luke Skywalker digital stuff that they do.
Well, the Luke Skywalker was actually Mark Hamill. You know, they just de-aged him.
No, I thought it was
No,
it actually him there?
that was actually Mark Hamill, but
Oh.
de-aged.
Well, that's some horrific CGI right there. Then,
Mm-hmm.
well, then what's his name? They actually did do a CGI of he blew up Alderaan, not Alderaan. Yeah, Alderaan.
Peter
He blew up
Cushing.
Yeah, his character.
Yeah, that was all CG.
And they also CG'd Leia, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't want any of that. That's an interesting conversation too, because how long can in like 30 years, when it's all been like we have perfect CGI, can they use former characters? Like, can we still see Mark Hamill in 30 years if he's passed, or Odo? That's an
It's going to
interesting
depend
conversation.
on, honestly, where it's going to come down to is at this point, are they writing clauses into actors' contracts that allows them to do that?
Well, I think they've already done that though, because they can
Mm.
use their image and everything in perpetuity, like to the ends of the world.
Right.
So they've
But can
already
they
written
create
that.
new images? That's where it's going to
Yeah.
come down to.
That'll probably be a
Right.
part of contracts. That'll start being added.
Right. Now,
There's no way I
Alex
can't see them not doing that.
throws in a couple of bucks. Thank you. Says Picard equals Star Wars prequels minus co-workers are still in denial.
What the hell does that mean?
I'm not sure the math quite works there. So yeah, no idea. I'm no idea.
I don't even think it's Star Wars. They don't have a lot of the flashy like fights or anything.
Right.
Like that. So I wouldn't
They
even say it's Star
yeah,
Wars.
Picard. The funny thing is because Picard was like the biggest cock tease of Trek history, where they had the Borg cube. Not we're gonna shut. No, we're not gonna do. We're gonna no, we're not gonna. No, we're gonna no. We're gonna have Flowers take it down. You know that Borg cube. I was so mad about the Borg cube. I wanted to see that Borg cube in action, and then twice they teased us with the Borg cube.
They got taken out by Flowers.
Yeah. Trek Yards is in the house. Good to see you, Captain Foley. We were talking about you earlier. And so let's see. The Federation threatened the Bajorans like the Federation treated the Bajorans like crap. Changed my mind. Why should I change your mind?
I guess it would depend on how you define treating the Bajorans like crap too. I
Yeah.
suppose, because I'd need to know that definition.
Yeah.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with it. They went out of their way, like they showed up. The Bajorans asked for help. They showed
Mhm.
up. They gave resources. They provided like the legitimacy or whatever. Did they ever strong arm Bajor and tell Bajor it couldn't? They actually an admiral backed the Bajorans against the Romulans. Did they ever strong arm Bajor in any way?
No, the only thing the Federation did was suggest suggest that Bajor go along with the agreement with the Dominion to stay out of of conflict. I think. And
Yeah, that wasn't even Starfleet. That was Cisco.
right.
Yeah, he was speaking as the emissary more than a Starfleet officer. Yeah, I don't think they ever strong armed or did anything bad to the Bajorans at all. Technically, I don't think the Dominion did it either. Depending on how you want to define that.
And let's see. The Federation motto is Betty. Whoa, what? Bettyization through 1,000 concessions. That's why everyone can mess with them. I'm not sure what Bettyization.
Where did you see that?
It was from Multi Gunman a couple of minutes ago. I'm trying to catch up. I'm way behind on the chat.
Well, you're talking to me.
Yeah, no. Thomas.
Bettyization.
Yeah. I'm not sure what that means. Thomas is talking about Grand Theft Auto because he knows how I feel about Grand Theft Auto.
One of the best shows, one of the best, I think, video games. Definitely better than that, what is it, For Honor or whatever? the other one is, I think.
And I do agree that the regurgitating Jem'Hadar thing is more of a Bird of Prey 5 thing. I could definitely see that. Which, that's that, I'm now picturing, I think I'm going to have to try to talk Joshua into doing an animation of a regurgitating Jem'Hadar. I don't know why, but that's just...
Into your mouth?
Yeah.
Were there any survivors from the artifact? I don't think so. One of the things that upset me about the Picard thing, too, is that they didn't treat the Borg like the Borg necessarily. Like, they ejected the Borg into space.
But the Borg could survive in space.
Yeah, and acted like that was a big deal. Like, the Borg would just, like, swim back over or whatever, or just be beamed back. That really wasn't a huge deal. So, yeah, the Borg weren't ever really treated...
No.
Even though they built it up, and I think it would have been interesting. They never really treated the Borg as the threat they were. Like, I thought for sure. Remember at the beginning, they gave them the badges, and they're like, I forget the actual colors, but they're like, your badge is blue. If it turns purple, whatever color, that means that you might be in danger. You need to go to a safe zone. If it's red, you're dead already. That wasn't the exact thing, but that's basically what they said. And so I wish they would have went through that, because I think they missed a lot of opportunities. I think you're absolutely right. It was just to have the Borg there more than it could have been any vessel.
All right, so here's an example that Jordan's giving about the Bajorans. He says the Bajoran earring is a major part of their culture, but they're forced to remove them while Worf is allowed to wear his sash.
Okay, that's during the Next Generation, not Deep Space Nine. It was more, and that wasn't just her. They did it to
Fetization equals
Yeah.
becoming weak and
Worf
subordinate
got
to
do it was probably
alphas.
due to some kind of lawsuit, I guess, is what I would say. So, yeah.
And so, Alex, thank you. So the betization, if I'm butchering that pronunciation, is becoming weak and subordinate to alphas. So it's through 1,000 concessions, you're becoming weaker to alphas. And yeah, that does sound like the Federation. It's funny, though, because the Federation, it's like they concede and concede and concede and concede to try and avoid a conflict. But then once a conflict erupts, somehow through the power of magical writing, they win.
Right. They have... They have what is it, the Pikachu face if they actually have to fight.
Yeah.
Cedric, bring on the Klingons. Let them hunt down the Romulans and take over space the Klingon wants. I mean, I think that they could do it, and the Federation would get upset, but probably not do anything. They never do. That's the thing. People get pissed off about Starfleet, but that's just the way Starfleet runs. They get mad when you talk about it, but that's just the way Starfleet is. It's not just who they are. That's as much canon than anything else.
And Alex wants to know, would you like to see a Nausicaan Starfleet crew member show up? I could see, I don't know if I would like to see it. See, that, you phrase it like that, and I know you do this a lot. You say, oh, would you like to see this? Well, it depends on the story. Just saying, would I like to see a Nausicaan? Well, if it fit the story, sure. But if it doesn't fit the story, no. But I would like, if you were asking me, like if I was to write a story and you specifically wanted a Nausicaan in there as a Starfleet officer, I think a Nausicaan would make a great chief of security. But just for fun, if you want to challenge it, let's make a Nausicaan ship's counselor.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. And so, like on the Cerritos, hey, let's meet the new ship's counselor, and a Nausicaan comes out. That would be awesome. Right.
Well, and the Federation had a lot of species that were not member worlds, interestingly. Right. So I think you could still have a Nausicaan, and the Nausicans not be a part of the Federation, because that was the plot point of a couple of TNG episodes. Not plot. It was a plot point, but it was a major thing. But it was.
Well, and apparently you have humans on lots of non-Federation planets as well, like the Rape Gang planet where Yar's from.
Yeah. Where the utopia of humanity at its best.
Yeah. Gotta avoid the rape gangs.
Undine medics for the win. You remember the Undine?
Did they actually use Undine on the show, or is
I don't know that they ever said. I think
Yeah,
that's a Star Trek Online thing.
Yeah, I don't like that name. I think that's a stupid name, but
I think it said Undine. I don't care what the voice actors say.
Thomas says, if Tindy doesn't have her pheromones, why did her cousin suddenly do what she wanted while they were being chased? Because of the matriarchy.
Yeah, she was the mistress of darkness. She was the bringer of death, apparently.
Yeah.
And she beat the holy living hell out of him at the beginning. He was like, didn't he say something like, I don't know why you're supposed to be here, or asked a question, and she just like walloped him. She started beating him like he'd done something wrong. Yeah.
It's their society, and it's how they are raised to be. And so, yeah, and it's like, it's simply that's the way it is for them. Maybe said Nausicaan counselor has to constantly sedate himself to maintain the required calmness, but watch out whenever he loses his hyperspray. Yeah. Actually, what you do is not a hypospray, but you have the Nausicaan I got this little doodad from I ripped it out of the neck of a Jem'Hadar. They use it to inject Kitracell White into them. I use it putting Thorazine into my veins.
Oh, they so apparently they did use Undine in the Voyager episode when they did the fake Starfleet Academy.
Okay,
when they were
I didn't remember that.
So apparently that was. Speaking on the Undine, what do you think about the Prodigy intro? What was your thoughts about that?
What? How's that speaking of the Undine?
How do you know the Undine weren't a part of it?
Well, the Undine weren't a part of it that I know of.
Well, that you know of. Maybe half the crew is Undine. We don't know.
I'm pretty sure that the crew is not Undine because we've seen the crew.
Okay, but I mean, how do you know that Undine can change form? In Star Trek Online, they're shapeshifters.
Yeah. Well,
maybe they are here. I mean, we don't know, do we? We haven't seen it, have we?
Well, maybe one of them's from California, so you should just go.
Yeah, I mean, Satan or really bad people could be on there too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's possible. I dare say that there are going to be Californians on there because we've already seen slave traders and stuff, right? So, I mean, Californians are well represented at least.
Anyway, so I would say this. So I know you said this already. It does look a lot like Star Trek Discovery's opening credits, but with color.
Right.
In that you see the ship kind of twirling around and leaving chemtrails behind it.
Well, and the objects. I
Yeah.
think the objects that we see, the eyeball, the robot hand.
Right. And so I think that's... it looks very, very much like an improved version of the Discovery credits. Better looking ship. Nice to have a color palette. But it's... honestly, the music is a little better than Discovery's, but not a lot better than Discovery's. The funny thing is, you can tell. Like, I don't know if the composer is the same composer, but it feels like it is because you have this original music, and then it ends with transition into classic Star Trek theme.
Right.
And it's like that's just what they do. It's like we'll throw in generic sounding orchestral music, and then we'll go dun da 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 to remind you that this is a Star Trek show. And it's like, how about you just, they didn't have to do that with Deep Space Nine and Voyager. They did it a little bit with TNG where they literally just stole the music from, Star Trek the Motion Picture. But, at least with Deep Space Nine, and with Voyager, and definitely with Enterprise, they did their own original thing with the music, So please stop trying to co-opt classic Star Trek themes and stick it on the end of your generic music. Just create new, beautiful music instead of just putting generic music with a classic theme in the end. That drives me crazy. However, the ship I still think looks great. The animation style is definitely okay. but it doesn't really show me much. I know that people are arguing about whether or not the intro is canon, which makes no sense to me. What intro to any series is canon?
Well, that we talked about this a little bit. The intro to people try to say the intro to Lower Decks is canon. That just frustrates the living hell out of me. I mean, none of them have ever really been canon, so
Yeah.
I don't understand the need for that.
Right.
You know?
Are they trying to say that a Constitution class starship was traveling at maximum warp, and as it flew by, the words "and DeForest Kelly" appeared in space? I mean, what introduction has ever been canon? It doesn't. They're credits. They're just opening credits. People, relax. It's not part of the actual show.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy in my opinion.
Now,
The battle didn't happen. No.
yes, Alex, you phrased the question better. However, it says, what sort of story would you construct around the Cardassian starship, Captain? Although the answer for me would be I wouldn't, because I don't particularly find. I think the Cardassians. I think their story's kind of played out at this point. I might use the Cardassians as a political power in a larger story, but I don't think I would make a story that revolves around the Cardassian starship captain.
I think, yeah, and I think you have to have humans in some way. I don't think
Yeah.
people are going to really connect. People keep trying to do other alien ships. I don't think it would work out. And I'm almost 99%. I'd probably bet money that no executive is going to take a chance on that.
Well, this is one of the few things that Laura and I tend to agree a bit on, is that I think if look, Star Trek, and this is one of the problems that you see in Star Trek Prodigy, and this is why I think that Star Trek Prodigy, when you look at it at a glance, you say, this doesn't look like Star Trek, but why not? Well, maybe because there's not a single cast member that's human.
Right.
And that is a glaring problem. Now, when you add Janeway into it, Janeway becomes the one and only human, but she's a hologram. And so that's a big problem. Star Trek is not Star Wars, number one. And even Star Wars, most of the principal characters are human.
Right.
And so you can't make all the characters weird aliens and expect people to gravitate towards it. It's just not going to work.
Right.
So we'll see. But, now I could see it having a little more luck as a children's show than as an adult show, because kids are used to, talking animals and crap like that for their entertainment. But, it depends on what age group it's really being marketed towards, which we're not even sure on that.
Right. Yeah. And we'll have to see. I mean, how long until it comes out?
I don't know. Have they even given a release date? And no, Alex, the intro to Enterprise just shows you various clips of history, but that doesn't make it canon. It just makes it an artistic rendering of historical events.
Well, yeah, and I mean, the question you have to ask is, while those things are happening, is there a pop song playing as well during the entire? Does everybody hear the pop song?
Right.
What happens with? Is the pop song somehow infusing these acts that occur, or is the pop song an aesthetic thing? And if it's an aesthetic thing, then why isn't everything else an aesthetic thing? So, Mike Bell said you're wrong. I'm not sure what you're wrong about.
I don't know. Maybe about the human-centric thing. And no, Daniel, I still do not want a Section 31 show. I think a Section 31 show is the worst thing that they can do with Trek. I think making the villains the heroes is absolutely the worst thing. I think that will be the death of Trek. Making the villains the heroes is the worst thing you can do to Trek. Now, they may do it, and maybe they'll pull it off, and maybe, and it'll just be one of those, yep, I'm too old for Star Trek at that point.
They did it in Voyager.
They made the heroes or the villains. Well, they made Janeway the hero. You mean?
Yeah, Janeway was the one of the greatest villains I think we've ever seen.
Well, that's a whole different argument.
I mean, she has a straight on death count and everything. So I don't know.
You know what's interesting is, in the first episode, and I did pull the clip for my Prime Directive video I'm going to be working on, is every time they talk about the Prime Directive in Voyager. So in the opening episode, Tuvok mentions that they cannot destroy the array because that would violate the Prime Directive. And Janeway's basically like, nah.
Really?
That was her whole thing. Yeah.
Didn't she try to like say, well, we have to return it to the way it was?
Nope.
Or
She made no argument whatsoever. She just decided, nope, nah. That was her rationale. She had no speech. She had no justification. She just didn't, she just didn't feel like listening to Tuvok.
Okay.
So when Tuvok pointed out that they, that what they were doing was violating the Prime Directive.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah. Which is kind of funny because in the last episode of Voyager, her final solution with the Prime Directive was, the hell with it. I believe that is the exact quote.
During which one? During which?
The final episode, Endgame.
Oh.
Remember?
Yeah, well, she did that a couple times.
Right, but that was the exact quote in Endgame when she was talking about the temporal Prime Directive, was the hell with it.
Gotcha.
And so, that was, so it's bookmarked perfectly. In the first episode, screw it. In the last episode, screw it. That's Janeway's attitude on the Prime Directive. Unless, of course, it's going to involve the death of millions of people, in which case, nope, we got to follow the Prime Directive, people, because we got to watch them millions of people die.
I mean, that's the way she loves it.
Yeah.
She likes it.
She certainly does.
Donovan helping out the channel. Happy bonus for you, good sir. Really enjoy all of these. Well, glad you enjoy all of them.
I'm thinking, I cannot wait for the episode of Prodigy, because this is a kids show, right? This is on Nickelodeon. I want this to be a show for toddlers, to where when we get the Janeway hologram going, remember, kids, we can't interfere, even if it means the death of everybody. Everywhere. Yeah, I want that. I so want the psychotic killer Janeway in the on this show. I absolutely want that.
I don't think she's going to be evil. I don't know. I don't. The only thing I can, so they apparently also have trans warp or something like that. They have some kind of special super warp or something.
Okay.
Because did you watch the intro all the way through?
Yeah.
So they have that regular warp, and then the ship like shifts down.
Yeah.
And apparently there's a super special trans warp.
Right, and that's when you saw Captain Vin Diesel go, "It's all about family," and then he like hits the NOS button.
Yeah, so that's exactly what happened. And so I'm wondering if this is a ship that was lost or had crash landed or something like that, and they have the ability to go wherever they want to get away. Why wouldn't they then return it once they're away? I'd be curious to see why it's not going to be returned to Starfleet.
Well, why would they? The hell with it. That'll be, in fact, that'll be the they're going to have to do like, just like the old days of cartoons. Now, I know you're probably too young for this, but you see, when they tried to teach kids morality, they would finish cartoons with a moment where the main characters from the cartoons would talk to the kids and say, remember, kids, in today's episode, when the bad guy tried to kill people, that was wrong. Don't try to kill people. They would do stuff like that. So, and we're going to have Janeway go, sometimes you're going to find something that belongs to your neighbor, and you should give it back. You know what? The hell with it. They lost it. Keep it. Screw them. Drive all around town.
They say that. Say screw them.
Yeah, they absolutely
screw them hard.
Yeah. Screw them with antimatter.
I see it. I see it like I see the sun. I think this is going to be excellent.
They need to do that. They absolutely need to do that.
I don't think they're going to do that. That would be funny if they did, though. That would be probably the best episode of Trek that ever existed.
That absolutely. And you know what? If they don't, I need to find someone that can imitate Kate Mulgrew's voice.
Just, what if she's on Cameo? I don't know that she'd agree to do
No,
that.
she would never do it. But boy, that would.
If you could get her to say that, that'd be awesome.
Hey, everybody! This is Janeway.
You have her. I don't. You every time you do her voice, it's like the one of like the old lady from
Right.
almost every series, like the old crotchety lady.
Well, that's because I
man.
can't do Janeway's voice, so I just do the old 10-pack-a-day lady.
Yeah,
You know?
exactly.
But that, come on, you know that would be hilarious.
Yeah, it would be hilarious. I'm not saying it would not.
You know, kids, you found a starship, and you know who it belongs to, but screw them. We're going to explore the galaxy.
She has a cigarette. Anyway.
We got to take this ship to Nutley. See who gets that one.
Tuvix wanted to keep his life, but I told him, fine.
I split him in twos.
Did it, I'd do it again.
Wow. Yep. So that's about it. I think we do need. Yeah. There you go. You know what? Ensign Kim, he's still an ensign. It's been 20 frickin' years. You know, that's what we need.
It's horrible.
It's horrible, but it's true.
Yeah,
It's
true.
absolutely true. I think that Janeway is, yeah. Now, here's the question, though. Who is really the bigger criminal, Janeway or Cisco? I mean, if you're really going to look at it, because Janeway, most of her crimes were in the name of following the law.
Well, I mean, she did help the Borg defeat Species 8472, thus ensuring the biggest enemy of the Federation, if not the galaxy, was still able to continue.
Well, but she also, but 8472 was going to purge all life.
Yeah, that's one way of looking at it. There's never any real conclusive evidence. But,
well, assuming that your telepath that was in contact with 8472 was reporting accurate information.
Okay, so if you have a telepath, if there was a okay, so let's say that there was a species that came over our Earth. They had one telepath, and that telepath decided to read the mind of a Klansman. Do you think that's reflective of Earth?
She was receiving information
from source.
The invading force of 8472.
From one of the from one of the invading force, and so
who's on a mission, and that mission appears to have been that they were going to wipe out all life.
So if the alien decided to get a U.S. Soldier. Mm-hmm. That was a part of the Klan, would that be reflective of the entire U.S. military and government?
That U.S. soldier who happened to be a member of the Klan wasn't on a mission to wipe out all life.
Well, first off, we don't know that they were. In fact, the
yes, we do. We know exactly. She said that they were going to purge all life.
Oh, one did. Who was it? Was it a Klan's member? Someone who hated all the species?
Did you not watch the episode? Go back and rewatch Scorpion.
Not only did I not watch them, but I actually.
Oh, you didn't watch them. You just said you didn't watch them.
I said not only did I not watch them.
Right, you did not watch them. You said not only did I not watch them.
Not only did I not watch them,
not only did I not watch them. You just said it again.
It's cool that you are changing what actually happened. That's fine. You want to make it fit like you do with the.
No, you're supposed to say not only did I watch them. That's what you want.
It's all right. You can be. It's all right. I've dealt with pedants before, but we can keep on the actual topic, which is. Again, we don't know who she was talking to.
She was speaking to a member of the invading force.
Yeah, was it the Klansman? Was it just a regular soldier? Was it the president of all of the invading? First off, we don't know it's an invading force. All of the evidence shows us, in fact, that it probably wasn't. The species 8472 never actually got serious until Voyager used their bioweapon and started murdering them. All the evidence before that shows species 8472 just wanted Voyager to stay out of it. The only evidence we have is one member. We don't know who this person is, this alien is. Was he a Klansman? Was he a regular soldier? Was he a racist? Was he the president? Was he the candy man that brought candy to all the little good girls and boys around the universe? We got no idea who the guy is. We're just going to take it on one. And again, they only got serious and wanted to destroy Voyager after Voyager started using that bioweapon.
So what you're saying is that you would believe and trust an invading force.
No.
You
as a Starfleet captain, what I would do is I would attempt to reach out to the other captains, not just some random jerk that we don't know. I would attempt to create a dialogue. In fact, based on all the evidence, it shows us that Species 8472, again, didn't want Voyager to be any part of this.
And if you recall, Janeway did try to communicate with them, and their response was that you will be purged.
No, that was, first off, that was just one member coming from the telepath. She never attempted any other.
That was how they communicated.
What if Cisco... Yeah, you can talk with more than just with one member of the species. So what if Cisco was like, you know what? The first time we ever met the Jem'Hadar, they attacked us. So let's just go instantly to war. Is that how they worked, or what did they do? Did they try to continue to open up dialogue and talk with different parts of the Dominion? especially when you consider that Species 8472...
And I agree, Thomas. Laura's definitely an 8472 sympathizer.
Species 8472 did everything they could to try to keep Voyager out of it and to get them to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's fine if you didn't watch the episodes or you want to rewrite history. I mean, Fandom Menace does it all the time, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's something you're interested in. Ensign Ricky says, with the power of dual super chats combined, I dub the fat overlords of
sci-fi.
I was going to say soft.
Yes. With the power of dual super chats combined, I dub the
super
fat
chatted on
overlords
both
of
our
sci-fi.
channels.
Not all heroes.
Thank you, Ensign Ricky. You're the man. So, but you see, I think that. So you think that?
No, I don't think all evidence shows.
No, not all evidence shows.
Let's look at all the evidence. The first time that they interact with Species 8472, they go onto a Borg cube. They find Borg, like horrors of horrors with the Borg. They see Species 8472. Species 8472 fires on Voyager but does not destroy it. Now, that's a really big critical piece, because we have seen that not only can Species 8472 vessels just what the hell pwn Borg cubes, if you get enough of them together, they can destroy planets.
Right.
So why wouldn't Voyager be impacted?
It was first of all, Voyager was impacted. It had on a glancing blow, Voyager was almost taken out.
No, it wasn't. First off, I'm not sure it's a glancing blow. That's kind of interesting. They said just like that. But even if it was a glancing blow, these things, if they hit Borg cubes, they annihilate them. So a glancing blow off of an Intrepid class should destroy it. They were pulling their punches there. In fact, and then what happens when Species 8472 starts appearing and you have the Intrepid class there, you have Voyager, and you have other cubes, what do? They attack the other cubes.
Mm-hmm. This is a common problem with Voyager writing, by the way, is that, and this is a big problem I have with the writing.
I'd go to the writing if I was getting the hell beat out of me too. So
no. Cheer me out on this, because I do think this is something I don't like about the writing, because is that when they act like the Borg have no defenses unless they've been able to analyze the attack successfully, and that somehow the Borg are unable to analyze their attacks, which makes no sense. Because in the case of 8472, they've taken hits from 8472. They should be able to analyze what type of energy beam it is and concoct a reasonable defense against it. There's no reason that the Borg defenses are completely useless against it. Compare that to the Voyager has general defensive shields that were in fact up. We see that the attack hits Voyager's shields. And so the shields were up when it's hit. So what you're arguing is that an unshielded cube takes damage, where shielded Voyager is not wiped out.
So there's a couple of pieces to that.
I grant you that's a problem with the writing, but I'm just saying that's
there's a couple things to that. First off, what the intent of Species 8472 is and what's on screen are two different things. I think the intent was they were always going to be like the destroyers of the universe, right?
Right.
The other thing, when it comes to shields, I'm not sure that those Borg cubes were unshielded or not, because we know they have shielding, because I don't know if it's that same season, but it's in later seasons. The cubes actually have shield, like the shields go down, which makes little sense. Yeah, it's a problem with the writing. I agree.
The writing on Voyager was just all over the place.
Right. But I would still say, even if we kept like just the TNG and they didn't have shields, I think that a Borg cube could take a better hit unshielded than a Intrepid class could shield.
You would think. Now,
I think a Sovereign probably would be better, could stand better, but Intrepid, I would assume, would still get pretty hurt. Again, what the writing is and what's on screen are two different things. I do think that they were always intended to be like the big bads. I just don't think that it necessarily shows that, you know.
Right. And Ensign Ricky is arguing it's because of the organic weaponry, which is why 8472 is so effective. But that makes no sense either, because just because it was organic, first of all, it was just an energy beam, right? So what 8472 fired, just because the source of the energy beam was organic versus mechanical, doesn't change the fact that it is an energy beam.
Yeah, I don't think there's no evidence that organic attacks did any less damage.
Right. The only thing that their organic designs of 8472 would mean is that it's more difficult for the Borg to actually assimilate one of their ships, because they would have to get past their incredibly dense DNA that their nanites can't get through. So basically making 8472 assimilation proof. And that is that's the one thing that I buy into, is that 8472 is assimilation proof, because they're from another dimension and their DNA is so tightly packed that they just can't do it. I'm down with that. I'm totally fine with that. I'm also fine with the combined attack. Their planet busting attack would be so powerful that even a fully shielded and adapted Borg cube wouldn't be able to withstand that. But I'm not cool with the idea that the Borg would have no adaptation to that energy beam. I think that makes no sense. I think that was lazy writing.
Well, they made them the villain of the week, unfortunately, and that was the problem with it. Just looked at the scene. Voyager didn't take a direct hit. It was glancing blow to the shields versus a full-on impact to the side of cube. First off, I still would stand by a glancing blow with a weapon that can destroy a Borg cube would probably destroy the ship. But I'll just readjust. They didn't hit it. The
Borg cube did take multiple hits.
The glancing blow was actually on purpose. They just wanted to scare Voyager away. I mean, you can easily write that off. So, I mean, again,
Borg cube took multiple hits to be taken down.
The Borg cube took 2 hits or something like that, if that. Did it even take 2 hits? I don't know.
Keep in mind that the Borg cube that Janeway was on was hit before the Borg cube actually sacrificed itself.
Right. We'll find out together. We said it was Scorpion. Yeah, because that's where they bring.
Yeah, Scorpion. That's the only episode where we really see any of this.
Well, that, and then when they do the fake.
The fake thing, though, we don't see battles between the Borg and 8472.
Oh, sure. That was interesting bringing them back, too.
Yeah, but they didn't bring them back in an interesting way, in my opinion. I thought the whole thing with the fake Starfleet Academy was stupid.
You think she should have given them the weapon?
I barely even remember the second one.
So what happens is they're going to infiltrate and destroy the Federation, and she gives them the schematics to the weapon that kills them, in hopes that so they won't attack or whatever. So it's like, here you go, you can have this. We hope you see that, we're not really the bad guys.
Right. So now she makes it so that 8472 is invincible.
Right, which is part of the problem in Star Trek. They went with that because you can see how that might be a problem.
Right. So so Janeway not only helps the Borg, she helps 8472.
Yeah, she does at the end. She plays both sides. She plays a dangerous game. So now you got me interested. I'm looking for Scorpion. Where the hell is Scorpion? Oh, wow, that was season 4. That feels so late. I feel like they had her beforehand.
No.
Oh, okay.
Remember, they were desperate, and that's because 7 of 9 was like their Hail Mary.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it did well. They did 3 more seasons? Maybe.
Well, but the ratings didn't really. I mean, they kind of remained steady. Honestly, I thought that the 7 of 9 thing, she should have been a better character than she was, in my opinion.
Well, so speaking on the species 8472 thing, because I'm looking at it right now, the not only are they they can't assimilate them, they take Borg weaponry like a champ.
Right.
Yeah, so let's see. One hit almost completely destroys one side. Man, their weapons, they're just OP.
Right, but the phasers, I mean, keep in mind that against an unprepared cube, phasers wrecked a Borg cube.
Yeah, but it only wrecks it once. That was the point of it. After the first hit, the first hit is always full on, but after that, you're never going to get another shot, right?
But that's the problem, and that's what they didn't do, is that they acted like, for whatever reason, the Borg just were like, duh, we don't know what to do with this one. And that's where I had a problem with. The thing is that in Q-Who, and I know, like Ensign Ricky was talking about, they scan their victims before they attack to see if it's worth it. I don't think they could do this with 8472 ships. Sure, they could. Right. They could scan it. Sure, maybe they couldn't see all the details, but the Borg did not adapt to phasers until they were hit by phasers. That's what they do. The Borg adapt to whatever they're hit by. And that was what they showed in Q-Who. That's what made them deadly. You hit them, they take the punch, and then they say, okay, this is the type of energy it was. This is the frequency it was hitting us at. All right, set the defenses to that. And that's why changing the frequencies at random worked.
Right.
Because then all of a sudden the Borg can't just adapt to it, because now all of a sudden you're hitting them with something different every time. And so if they wanted to argue, and now they could have fixed all of this by saying that 8472 was hitting them with some weird weapon that was constantly modulating its frequency all over like this crazy range. Like if they got a sensor scan of it and they're like, Captain, this makes no sense. According to this, it's hitting them with 75,000 different frequencies simultaneously. If they said something like that, okay, fine. Then the Borg wouldn't be able to adapt. But there's nothing in dialogue like that. And so from what we see, they're just hitting them with a bolt of energy that's just very powerful.
Right.
But it's not like Death Star laser powerful. From what we see, in fact, it's approximately about 1/12 of a Death Star powerful.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, it goes back to the writing. I had a writer on a while back, and she even said, we were told, don't worry about consistency or continuity. Just try to write something people would watch. And that's quite obvious is what they were doing.
Right. And Ensign Ricky says the only reason the Borg adapt so quickly is because they already know who they were fighting. They didn't scan 8472. They'd be in the dark. You were doing their writing for them. There is no way. You are completely pulling that out of your butt, Ensign Ricky. I love you, but there is nothing on screen to indicate what you're saying. You're just pulling that out of your butt.
Yeah, I mean, they could scan species 8472 anyway, didn't they? They had ships on screens and stuff, so I'd assume that they scanned them to some degree. I mean, it wasn't even about a scan thing, though. They didn't scan the Enterprise. The Enterprise attacked them, and then the second time it attacked them, it failed. because they took the hit, and then they now know what they're getting hit with. So that's I don't they just shouldn't have used them. That's what I'm saying.
But I mean, I get there's a million arguments we could make. The problem is that it was that part of it was badly written.
Right.
If they had made some reason that their weapons penetrate Borg defenses, fine. But then they should have made it so that Voyager either never took a hit, or if they did take a hit, it did a lot more than glanced off the shields.
Right.
You know, because if it glanced off the shields, then why the heck weren't the Borg able to do that?
Right.
You
Yeah,
know?
I mean, that's if the shielding really did protect them, and it wasn't anything about that, which is probably what they meant for it to do. You'd think the Borg would realize that. Like, this is a species that is going to end the Borg. You would think they would be trying and they had minds from hundreds upon thousands of planets,
Including, by the way, Federation scientists.
which would know that shielding may work, and then they would institute it. In fact, that was not here, but that was the only thing I can see that justifies the use of shielding in later episodes, is that they found it effective and they got it from a species that had it, and that's why they instituted it.
Plot shields.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, because it's not like they never assimilated a Federation captain by the name of Picard. Right. And, it's not like, oh, we don't have Picard, we forgot everything that he knew.
And the major plot point was that he had all of the defensive data from both the Enterprise and all the other ships of Wolf 359, which basically won. Because remember, they used the actual weapon, which did nothing because of all his knowledge.
Right. And so, and yes, Mercer, that is the Orville behind me.
Did you see the parody that I did? We probably
behind us, yes.
Did you see the? I made fun of like Fahrenheit 9/11.
Yes.
You know what makes me so sad about that? Because I tie all of it together, saying it was all an inside job. We're so old because you and I get the references to that, but younger people had no idea. Like Fahrenheit 359 or whatever. They're like, what the hell is? Yeah, they're like, what the hell is going on? Why would you did you mean Wolf 359 or whatever? Yeah. It's like you didn't. Yeah, nobody remembers when documentaries were like those conspiracy documentaries were a big thing.
Yeah, congratulations, Laura. You're starting to get old.
Yeah, I know that.
Wait a few more years. The pain.
I'm already old.
The pain is coming soon. Oh, the pain. Then the doctor's visits begin. Oh yeah.
Oh, thanks, Dad. So anything else before we get off this train ride? This fun
this train Voyager, wreck? I thought you were
this Voyager bashing train ride.
Voyager bashing. I don't think we're bashing Voyager. I just think that the writing on Voyager, unfortunately, was very inconsistent, particularly when it comes to the Borg. Because the Borg were supposed to be the greatest single threat the Federation ever faced, but an Intrepid-class starship could take on multiple waves of Borg ships, apparently.
Right.
Whatever. But, hey, at least we're not talking about, Discovery Season 1, right?
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll probably be going back to that at some point.
I'm sure we will. Wait until they bring in the origin of the Borg in Discovery Season 4.
I thought they were going to do that with Control.
Everybody thought that was coming.
I'm so glad they decided not to do that, because that would have rewrote like everything.
Oh, don't worry, that's coming. It's going to be a time travel story.
Where they do it.
Yeah, it's going to be Control. Control snuck. Here's what they're going to do. Control, an element of Control survived on Voyager, and then they did the Voyager A, right? And so now Voyager A, some of the programmable matter integrated with Control, and then it goes through a wormhole and goes back in time and becomes the Borg.
What they're going to do is they're going to start doing what the Arrowverse does. Is they're going to have crossover episodes, and so you'll have Picard, Burnham, somehow Boimler, and a character from Prodigy. They all come together, and it's to fight Control.
Yep.
God, that was so bad. Why would you have two series that fight alien AI or software or whatever? Why would you? That's just ugh. Yeah, early disco era. Controls the universe. All right, so I guess that's where we're gonna end it.
Indeed, and thank you, Death by Rabies donated $3. I appreciate it with a fist bump. I appreciate it, buddy. And that's a great way to end the show. So
you got to die though. Death by Rabies.
Yeah, his name is
horrible.
But it's
a horrible way to die.
It is a horrible way to die, but it's a great way to end the show with a fist bump.
Well, not if it's by rabies. I don't fist bump rabies. Let's see. What are the symptoms of rabies? Let's look at this.
What?
Fever, headache, nausea, vomiting, agitation, anxiety, confusion, hyperactivity.
I have most of those now.
Yes, maybe you have rabies.
I thought it was MS. It's rabies. So
they've been going wrong. So within 3 to 5 days, the virus causes enough damage to the brain that the animal begins to show unmistakable signs of rabies. Maybe that's where you got it.
Well, there you go. And so don't forget to go and join Life with Matthew for his Sequest review. He's going to be talking about, some Sequest thing.
I can't wait till he gets to the episode where they share breath for like 5 minutes.
Oh, that sounds...
It's great. Yeah, they're underwater and they have to survive, so they both take a deep breath and then they kiss each other, sharing breath back and forth, because that's how it works. It is. When you breathe out, you're just breathing out oxygen that other people can.
That's like docking, right?
That's exactly. That's a less cooler version of docking. They should have docked. That's how they would have stayed alive.
Well,
how do you even know about docking?
You told me.
Oh, okay. That sounds like something I'd share with you.
Yes, it absolutely is.
But don't look up docking on Google. It's not going to give you good results.
All right, guys, take care. Go say hi to Life with Matthew, and we had to go there.
Demonetized.
Yeah, well, at least you didn't mention Uncle Adolf this week.
That's true. The Californian before California was California. The pinnacle of California.
California was California. Jeez, man, is your history that bad?
He was, that's like on their state flag, isn't it? Uncle Adolf, never forget, at the very bottom.
Oh, man, I'm done.
But it's in German.